How to create a language learning habit tracker. So basically, not going to waste your time, guys. Consistency and repetition are two of the most important things when it comes to learning a language. And a lot of people don't do this right. So a lot of people screw up because they don't consistently learn the language. They, do a little bit here, a little bit there. They don't structure out their learning, and that is kind of why they fall off. They're not, going over stuff enough and that kind of thing. So in this video, basically, I'm going to teach you how to create a language learning habit tracker like so. Kind of this one here. That actually isn't really a habit tracker. That's probably misleading. Sorry, guys. I will show you how to do it properly though. And basically, if you can implement what is in this video, which you definitely can, you can use the habit tracker to, I think, at least 5x your progress, because you'll be learning way more consistently and that kind of thing. So yeah, if you do like this kind of educational content and language learning as well, definitely hit the subscribe button and let's go. So what is a language learning habit tracker? A habit tracker, full stop, is something you use to measure if you did a habit. So basically, I've got a picture of one on the right here. I think that is from, what's his name? James Clear. If you've heard of the book Atomic Habits, it's like some kind of productivity book. Haven't actually got around to reading it yet, but I've heard it's really good. So yeah, this is a habit tracker basically. I hope you can see that. It's literally kind of like a calendar type thing. And on the left here, he's got a bunch of habits. So walk outside, read a page, the gym, journal, go to bed early, that kind of thing. And you can literally just tick them off for each day. That is a habit tracker, not for language learning, but people can use it for literally anything. We're going to use it for language learning because it works for anything and it's really, really good for getting you to do stuff. So the 3 reasons why a habit tracker is good, I've got written here. So number 1, win stacking. Win stacking is basically when you have a win, for example, like you say you're going to study a language at this time, for example, and you can tick it off the habit tracker because you've done it, that does actually increase your motivation. When you say you're going to do something and you go through with it, it's a thing called integrity, self-integrity, and that does kind of up your frequency a bit and make you want to keep going. So if you say you're going to do something you don't usually do, it's kind of difficult. You're like, oh, I don't really want to do it, but you do it anyway. Afterwards, you feel really good and you're actually more motivated to do it, and it's easier to do it the next time you have to do it. So definitely win stacking. You'll be able to look back and see a whole line of ticks, and that makes you want to learn a language even more. Second reason why a habit tracker is good is accountability. It's much, much harder to skip tasks when you have them written down, not just in a to-do list, but in a habit tracker setup like this, where you can see that you've been ticking it for the previous days. And you're like, oh, do I really want to miss this day? Probably not. That makes it way harder to skip tasks, not just because it's harder to forget to do it, but also it's just a really good system for productivity. Third reason is problem solving. That one kind of deserves an explanation of its own, which I'm going to talk about later. But basically, by problem solving, I mean, if you can see that you're consistently missing the same task, you can identify why. So we'll talk about how to actually problem solve when you do miss days on the habit tracker, which of course you will. And the habit tracker basically will help you identify why you're missing something so you can get back on track. So yeah, overall, habit trackers are an excellent way of making progress in a thing, and I'm going to show you how to actually make one on the next slide. I have only recently started to use them for language learning. I don't know why. If I was talking to you in person, I'd let you slap me in the face because they're actually so useful, and I've actually noticed my progress is 5 times better. I have kind of had a routine most of the time, apart from the very start, but yeah, using a habit tracker is definitely upped my game. I'm definitely not going back. The difference is huge. So yeah, how do you actually make a habit tracker? So first things first, you need to identify your goal and clearly write it out. So I presume your goal is to learn a language to some degree. It doesn't really matter what goal it is, even if it wasn't language learning related. Of course, we're talking about language learning, but you need to make sure you're writing your goal out clearly. So you would write out what language you want to learn and how and what your goal basically is. So I would write, for example, because I'm learning Russian at the moment, goal to learn to speak Russian basically is my goal. And you can write this out for the piece of paper that you're using to actually make your habit tracker. I've got pictures on the next slide. Don't worry about it. You can either use an actual calendar, so a calendar with days and stuff, and you can write in the habits if you want. That one might be a little bit difficult. You can literally just make your own on a piece of paper. That I think is the best one. I'll show you how to do that on the next slide with the actual pictures of habit trackers people have made. Or you can download a habit tracker template. It doesn't really matter. Just kind of build one. I'll show you how to build one on the next slide. But yeah, the reason writing it down is important is because the reason we do any habit, say, you're setting yourself language learning habits, like listen to one episode of a podcast today. The reason you're actually doing that isn't just for the sake of doing it, it's so you can achieve the goal. And the goal needs to be clear and achievable and written down. If it's kind of, off with the fairies and you're not really sure what you're trying to achieve, it's going to be way harder because you kind of lose that motivation. Just trust me on that one. Next, step 2, decide what you actually need to do to achieve this goal. So you've got the goal lined out. You want to learn Russian, you want to learn Italian, whatever language. You need to actually see what you need to do that. So, okay, I want to learn Russian. I should probably listen to something in Russian at least 3 times a week. So I might set myself 3 times a week or every day if I want to listen to one episode of a podcast in Russian. I might also set myself read 1 chapter of a book in Russian. If I want to do a lesson on Duolingo, people shit on that, but like honestly that's fine. You could write that in as a habit tracker, do 1 lesson of Russian on Duolingo or anything like that. And yeah, literally I've got a whole list of things you can do. So flashcards revision, reading a chapter, watching a movie /TV / the news / whatever you want, doing a crossword or some kind of puzzle in the language, listen to a podcast whilst exercising, etc. Literally anything. You can look up what to do to learn, things you can do to help you learn a language, or you can just try and find videos on my channel. Decide what you want to do to get better at the language and write those into the habit tracker so that you can make sure you're doing them consistently. Once you've decided what tasks you need to do, here's what we're going to do. So I've got a few pictures of habit trackers just because I think looking at a picture of it is kind of the best way to understand how to do it. You can look at that while I'm getting a drink 1 second. Hold on. So these are all versions of habit trackers. As you can see, they're all kind of the same thing. So on the top, you've got the days of the month all the way across. You could have them on down the side as well. It doesn't really matter, whatever works for you. And then on the side, you can see they've got all the tasks. So I've already kind of talked about this one. This one, someone's got exercise, read, meditate. A lot of them have bedtime, like just basic stuff. And as you can see, you tick them off. So I'm not sure why this person's, I think they're just alternating between blue and black or purple and black. It doesn't really matter. That's kind of stupid. But yeah, as you can see, they're using an X to tick off when they actually did each habit. So you can see they have missed a fair few days. Whoever's habit tracker this isn't doing a particularly good job. They've missed a lot of days, but you know, at least they're trying. So as you can see, they're putting X's in all the days that they've done the habit. So you can see for the first 3 days here, they've done exercise, and then I'm looking at this one in the bottom, by the way. I don't know if you can see my cursor. And then they missed the 4th day. That is basically what you're going to do with your language learning habit tracker. So down here, you might have podcast, book, TV, whatever you want to put in. And basically, when you do it, you just tick off that day. So you can make your own. As you can see with this picture on the right and this picture down here, it's literally just paper with kind of dots on it. You could do it with just blank A4 paper. You can just make your own. You can also, I guess, make it in your notebook for language learning if you want. Or this one here is actually, it's not a calendar, it's actually a dedicated habit tracker. So you can download that and print it offline. I would recommend a physical one, by the way. It's just a little bit, I think, fun, just better. Or you could literally just use a calendar. It doesn't really matter, but this is kind of what the habit tracker looks like and how to use it. So number 1 tip as well, as I said before, clarity. You need, a habit tracker works because of clarity, so make it clear. If you're gonna read a chapter of a book, for example, don't just write read down on the side like this person has, this absolute twat. No, I'm joking. Just because read isn't particularly clear. Like what does read mean? Read something online, read 1 sentence, read 1 chapter. Write down in your habit tracker, I like read 1 chapter of book in whatever language or something like that. Read 1 chapter, just so you know, okay, to tick off this, I need to read at least 1 chapter. That's what I need to do. Clarity is extremely important. Trust me on that. When you're not being clear, you will stuff up more. It happens, okay? Once you've made the habit tracker, you're actually halfway done because you still need to actually do the habit. So yeah, now that you've made the habit tracker, you need to put it somewhere where you can constantly see it. So you don't have to tattoo it to your forehead, but like put it on your desk, stick it to your wall, stick it to your mirror. You can take a photo and make it your lock screen as well, but you should do that in addition to something else, just so you also have the physical habit tracker. Basically, you can put it in your language learning notebook, put it in your top drawer, I guess is okay. Just put it somewhere where it's not going to end up in the bin or at the bottom of the cupboard somewhere, just so you can actually use it. It's not really going to help you. Just wherever you put it, ask yourself, is it helping me by being here? If you're going to flush it down okay, that's being silly. If you're going to put it at the bottom of a drawer, it's not really helping you. If you're going to put it on your desk, it's definitely going to help you, even if it's slightly inconvenient. So yeah, just find somewhere to put it that's good. There are 3 rules basically for using the habit tracker. We're almost at the end of the video, guys. I appreciate it if you have stayed around till this point. You're a real one. But yeah, for the 3 rules of the habit tracker, basically, rule number 1, when you do a habit, tick it off. Fairly straightforward, just like how these people have. Put a cross, put a tick, color it in, draw a smiley face, anything like that, tick it off. Rule number 2, at the end of each day, review the habit tracker. So don't just tick it off. At the end of each day, look at the habit tracker and see, have you done everything? Have you missed things? That kind of thing. Rule number 3, if you didn't do a habit, you need to figure out why you didn't do it. So if we look at this one, for example, this top one here, top left, day number 1 through 4, you can see this person missed walking outside. So say at the end of day 1, we've done all 4 habits except for walk outside and bed by 11 p.m. That one would be kind of weird because you can't really go to bed before you tick it off. But yeah, say we've missed walking outside. At the end of the day, we'd say, okay, walking outside, we've missed that. Why? I ran out of time. I didn't book it in properly. Okay, so now you know for tomorrow, you need to actually set yourself a time to walk outside and do that. You can see they missed it again for the 4 days in a row. That's not that good. If you find you consistently miss the same habit multiple days in a row, what you need to do is make it your priority. So say you miss reading a chapter of the book for one day, you would say, okay, I'm going to read a chapter of this book at this time tomorrow. Say you miss it again, then you would say, okay, now that I've missed it 2 days in a row, I'm not just going to read a chapter of the book tomorrow, I'm going to make it my priority. So basically, it's going to be one of the first things you do. Not necessarily as soon as you get up, but in the first few hours of waking up, you're going to read the chapter of the book and make sure you don't make the same mistake multiple times in a row. But yeah, that is kind of the accountability, what did I write? No, problem solving. That is kind of the problem solving thing I mentioned at the start that I would talk about. If you didn't do a habit, the reason the habit tracker is good is because not only can you see that you didn't do it, but you can kind of figure out why. You can even journal it down if you want. That can be really useful and fix the problem basically. It might be an organization problem, might be a motivation problem, might be you just didn't have the thing with you. I guess that's kind of organization as well. But yeah, you can figure out why you messed up. Bottom line, guys, just to finish a kind of longer video, is definitely do the things in this video, and I guarantee you, you can sue me if this doesn't happen, but you will make 5 times the progress if you can actually write down a good habit tracker with a couple habits each day and tick them off. You will make more progress, trust me. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Comment down below any questions, plus your progress with the habit tracker and any tips and tricks you might have. I'm actually still new to this. Apparently I'm new to spelling as well, because that's not how you spell the word new. It should be N-E-W. My bad. I will post again as well, guys, with my habit tracker that I'm using at the moment. I didn't put it in this video because I'm still very new, so I didn't want to put mine in. But yeah, I will post again just to show you guys how it's going. But yeah, links to other useful habit tracker things in the description if you want to do some further reading about it. Link to my website, link to my Discord if you want to add me. And yeah, that's all. Have a good one. Thank you for tuning in. I'll let you go now. Have a good one.